Reusability has many faces, but for the last lecture in this section, I wanted to spend a little bit more time overall big picture reusability as we explore default values and also how do we confirm that a component only has one child. That can happen that you need a situation like that. So let's jump right into it. Alright, we're nearing the end of this section and I wanted to wrap things up with just a few more things that will help make your components more reusable and more shareable. Now, one of those stuff, two things that we're going to cover, and I want to talk, it's really about giving error messages and giving feedback to developers and users as they need them. So in this case, I'm going to go back into the text footer to showcase this, and what I want to do is I want to create a new static getter. And this getter is going to be called default props. Default props. Now the default props getter, in our case in our ES6 class example here, is going to return an object that mimics the objects that you want to have default values in them. In this case, if you did not set a title, I want to say that Ben, you forgot the title, for example. But really in reality you might want to put how about Ben, you forgot a title, and for our content I'm going to put here Ben, you still rock. Yay, thanks for the compliment. This is even better. I used to long ago put into my text curse words and stuff like that. That is a big mistake. Instead of that, put always positive things, because then you're looking at it all day, and especially if your code ever would reach the out of the world, you don't want curse words inside there. So instead of that, compliment yourself. That is a nice uplifting message in the end of this lecture. Now that we have these default values, they're not really going to do much because we have content already inside. But if I go to one of our items, if I find the text footer, and for example, someone didn't send the data in, right? Then those defaults will be applied automatically, or vice versa. If the model itself has any issues, for example, in our client, let's say our model comes back, but it comes back without the content. It's content free. It just has a title for some reason. Even in that situation, it will use those defaults, which is really, really useful. So creating these default scenarios could really help elevate your component in situations where content doesn't come through. Could happen in this case because we're working all with content that's pretty big. Maybe it won't happen, but in a real world scenario, there might be a server error, there might be I don't know what, and in that case, it's a really great idea to have default values, and that's exactly how you create it in React, by creating the default props at getter and sending through it an object that will mimic the different items that you want to put their default values. Now, last thing that I want to talk about before we wrap things up are still inside of the prop types, and I just wanted to say that you could also define in the prop types your children. So you could do only the children or all the children. In this case, we don't have a children at all, but let's say we wanted to define children and we want this item to only work if the property types is an element. Not only is it an element, this should be lowercase by the way, we want to say that it is required. And in this case, what's going to actually happen, we're going to get an error message telling me, hey, by the way, your text footer is not complete because you don't have children. You must have one child. And if we go ahead and render it again, you'll see that now we're going to get errors. We got disconnected. How weird. Let's refresh. Ooh, our server dropped. That is so crazy cool. Okay, so let's check what happened. Yeah, there we go. We crashed for some reason. A trap. How interesting. Okay, that could happen. So we started up our server again, and let's see if it's working. And now that it's working, we're going to get those error messages that is going to tell us, by the way, you should have children here, but you didn't put children in your text footer. So that's really powerful stuff. In this case, we really don't need it, but that is another way to make your components more visible. So if you need to have a child and only one child, make sure that you put that in and you configure it to make sure that whoever's running your code will get a very valid error message that tells them exactly what's missing in their code. Because in reality, we could have said, hey, the content shouldn't be listed out this way, but instead of that, we want to put the content wrap down and send a child, just like we've done in previous videos before. So that's it. That is really all the important things you need to know about to create reusable components. See you in the next section, our last section, which is going to be really, really wicked, where we connect all the dots together to create our full project. In this lecture, we really echoed the importance of validation and saw a few different cool features such as default values that really make our components stand up in their reusability. In the next section, we're going to walk away from just about reusability into bundling everything together to create a single page application.